Welcome to the introductory tour of the Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Legislation Handbook. In this video, we will show you how to navigate through the Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Legislation Handbook. There are alternative versions available, and there may be differences in layout and presentation. However, the information and referencing system will be the same. The Alberta OHS Legislation Handbook is divided into different components. We will explore the following: the Act, the Regulation, and the Code. The Act and the Code begin with a table of contents, followed by a set of definitions. Throughout this video, we will review the structure of the handbook, looking at the specific referencing systems. The referencing system is comprised of a set of specific components, and today we will focus on the four most common. These are the section, the subsection, the clause, and the subclause. Act. The Act is the enabling legislation and focuses on assigning general obligations, duties, and/or responsibilities to individuals and/or organizations. This is the table of contents for the Act. We will use this to find information. The section numbers are in bold on the left, and the titles of sections are beside them. For example, Section 1 is for definitions, and Section 3 is for obligations of employers. Section 1 is always reserved for definitions in both the Act and the Code. Next, look at the parts in the table of contents. Note that part numbers and section numbers are different from one another. Flip the page a couple times to find the end of the Act's table of contents. Notice here that there are 78 sections within the Act. Section 1, Definitions, is located just after the table of contents. Let's look at the four most common referencing components used in Alberta's OHS legislation. Beginning from left to right, there is the section, subsection, clause, and subclause. For example, the definition of worksite is Clause UU. We flip the page a few times while searching for UU remaining in Section 1. You can see that Section 2 starts just after Section 1. Navigating. We know that Section 2 begins on this page. If we look at the top of the page, we can see the information showing that we are near Section 2. Throughout the handbook, the top of the page is a great reference to see what section and area of the book you are in. For example, if we flip back to the table of contents for the Act and find Part 1, Section 3, which is Obligations of Employers, we can then use the information to flip forward to Section 3. We can see Section 3 at the top of the page. We can also see that we are in the Act area of our OHS handbook. Using the referencing system mentioned earlier, we can refer to information in Section 3, Subsection 1, Clause A, Subclauses 1 to 3, like this. This is useful for creating directions to the information we want to reference. Flipping forward to Section 78, we can see the top, again stating the nearby section. You will notice some pages have multiple sections. The closest section number beginning on the page will be listed at the top of the page. As you may recall from the table of contents, Section 78 is the last section in the Act. Regulation. The regulation will be found just after the first and closest blue divider page. It has information regarding the interpretation of regularly employed, research and education programs and surveillance programs. Ticketing and administrative penalties. Moving to the next blue divider, the following page will speak to ticketing and administrative penalties. On the following page, you will find the OHS ticketable provisions. These are the fines that can be issued by an OHS officer to workers or employers on site. As shown, the columns represent the OHS statute, the section, the summary of offense, the category, and the fine amount. After this area of the book, you will find a blue divider page, which will bring us to the Code. Code. The Code is the largest part of the book and contains more specific information. This is the largest component of the handbook and very specific to work sites or types of tasks. This is likely the area of the book you will use the most. Let's flip to the table of contents. This table of contents is quite large. Here we can see that Section 1 is Definitions and Part 2 is Hazard Assessment Elimination and Control. Now, let's flip forward to the end of the table of contents, where we will see that the code has 849 sections. If we look at Section 1, Definitions, you may notice they are listed alphabetically. Let's find the definition for work area. To do so, continue flipping through the pages until you locate the W section. In here, you will find work area. Keeping the definitions alphabetical makes it easier to locate what you are looking for. Now let's find Section 3, which is Adoption of Standards. These standards have been adopted by the Alberta Occupational Health and Safety legislation and therefore must be followed. Next, we will look at schedules and tables. Flip forward to Section 849, which is followed by another blue dividing page. Here is where we will go next. Schedules and tables. This component gives specifics such as tables, charts, and schedules for information referenced in the code. Let's have a look at Schedule 1 and Table 1. Make note that if you are working with any of these substances or processes, you will require a code of practice. Flip the page to look at Schedule 1, Table 2. Here it outlines the occupational exposure limits for chemical substances. The first page is the legend for the table. If we flip the pages forward to look for the substance methanol, we can see it is listed under the column for substance, and they are listed alphabetically. This allows us to flip through easily to find what we need. Have a look at the header of Table 1. As we can see, there are columns for substance, CAS number, 8-hour occupational exposure limit, 15-minute or ceiling occupational exposure limit, substance interaction, and carcinogenicity. Flip through the alphabetical substance column to locate wood dust for us to examine this closer. We can tell which wood dust is carcinogenic by looking at the last column. A1 being oak and beech, while A2 includes birch, mahogany, teak, and walnut. We can see where it shows Schedule 1 at the top of the page. Next, we will flip ahead to look at Schedule 2. Under Schedule 2, it is important to note Table 2. Construction is always deemed as high-hazard work. If you work in construction, you may want to take a moment to familiarize yourself with this information. Next, we will move forward to Table 7. This table is used for determining how many first aid kits, first aiders, and the type of first aid required based on the number of workers on site, as well as how distant the worksite is. The information needed to determine this is based on the first column combined with one of the following 3 columns. For example, if the worksite has 20 to 49 workers and is an isolated worksite, the following is required: 3 standard first aiders, a number 3 first aid kit, 3 blankets, a stretcher, and splints. We will now have a look at the index, which can be found in the pages following Schedule 12, Table 4. Index. The index is a very helpful tool for finding information in the code. Please note, this index is only specific to the code. When trying to find information in the code, consider using the index first, as the table of contents is so large. For the Act and Regulation, there is no index, so we use their table of contents. The index is in alphabetical order based on topic or keyword. When looking for information on ladders, flip forward to the L's and find the bolded term, ladders. The relevant sections will be beside the topic or keyword, which is the bolded term. Underneath, there may be more specific areas of that topic that you can find information with the relevant section numbers listed. For example, under ladders, we find the definitions, crawlboard, installation of shoring, etc. To find ladders, we will flip back to the code and search for the first section listed next to the keyword, which was Section 124. That concludes our introductory tour of the Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Legislation Handbook. Please visit www.youracsa.ca for more information or to register for our Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Legislation Awareness course.